On Rhythm of Serenity, Marcus Gad is chanting words of healing on rhythms that are in sync with our spiritual vibrations, helping to recalibrate our consciousness away from the noise, the chaos, and the disharmony around us. This album is exactly what we need in these times of instability, panic, and anxiety. Hello everyone, I'm Gideon St.Helen from Irie Reggae Reviews, where we take a deeper look into the nuts and bolts of reggae albums. The wise King Solomon said, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up." Reggae music, that big song that originated from a little rock, can be used to burn down and chant down and rebel against the machines of injustice. It's also used to calm the soul and prepare the mind to enter moments of higher meditation. The album Rhythm of Serenity fulfills that latter purpose. Marcus Gad, that phenomenal lyricist, singer and reggae artist from New Caledonia, released Rhythm of Serenity, his second full studio album, on March 13, 2020, under dual labels of Lustre Kings Productions and Baco Records. Marcus Gad has previously released the EPs Soul Talk in 2015 and Purify 2016, his first full studio album Chanting in 2017, which we reviewed and gave an Irie Roots Reggae score of 10/10, and the EP Enter a Space in 2019, which we included among 5 must-have reggae EPs from 2019. Now, reviewing this album Rhythm of Serenity was easy for me because it's such a great album. It was also a bit of a challenging task because for 2 reasons, I could not view this album through a completely objective lens, which I try to do every time I review these albums. The first reason is the vibes, the consciousness, the authenticity, the wisdom of the brother Marcus Gad genuinely resonates with me from the very first time that I found his music. And you will see exactly what I'm talking about as we go through this review, so please keep listening. The second reason why I found it hard to be objective is because the album was produced by my favorite set of producers, Zion Kings, the trinity of production houses that I refer to as the gold standard of modern roots reggae music. These producers and players of instruments produce the exact type of roots reggae music that I love and listen to. That Virgin Islands roots reggae sound that Midnight, Desiree, Danny I, Batch, and others are known for. We will ask Marcus Gad about this later on. Now, for this review, it's a high honor and privilege for me to have Marcus Gad answer our questions with clarity and wisdom that I know that you will appreciate.
Greetings, Gideon, and of course give thanks for the Eye's interest in our works and the Eye's support. I've watched all the reviews you've done, and I really enjoy the way you go in depth into the message and the way we create the music. Current situation is global. The whole of I and I had been expecting it for a long time, so it's not much of a surprise. But yeah, we need to be actively conscious in these times. So I give thanks to the Eye for spreading the message. Heart of love, Rastafari.
The first question we were interested in was how Marcus Gad came to collaborate with Zion Kings. Zion Kings, to those who don't know, consists of producers and players of instruments associated with Zion High Productions, I-Grade Records, and Lustre Kings Productions. Andrew Moonbane, who heads Lustre Kings Productions, took a lead producer role on this album and was instrumental to the genesis of this collaboration. This first album with Zion Kings was really a blessing. As you must have heard in my songs, Midnight, Desiree and the VI was always a big influence for I. How we met was actually pretty magic. A friend of ours went touring in Costa Rica alongside Sarah Lugo, maybe you know her, and he got to be in the van with Moon from Zion Kings. He heard my album Chanting and I think he was touched. I think he felt straight away the connection between the VI and my music. I guess he felt like I was part of this generation that had listened to them for a while and was just coming up. He got my contact from this brother and he called me up. I had a hard time believing that these brothers were calling me up to create music together. Moon asked me whether I want to work on an album right now and I said yeah, I'd love to. So he sent me a rhythm pack and we started working together through the internet. The first songs were Cane and Cotton and Colonization, which is not out now, only the dub is out. So that was our first works. After we did that session through the internet, Moon actually came to France so we could do a live session and meet in reality. I did go to the US for a third session to complete the album and to do the last songs a few months ago. Describing his own feelings as he heard Chanting by Marcus Gad, Moon said, "I was taken by the feeling, tempo and sincere vibration. It was familiar. I have worked, produced and collaborated for many years with Virgin Islands artists, musicians and producers, all this time collaborating and creating within a song that blazed its own trail through the vast jungle of reggae music, often emulated but never duplicated. Marcus's album had a similar Oasis feeling about it that I felt when listening to Danny I, Midnight, Desiree or Irie dub. Something spiritually refreshing, different, tasteful and meaningful. The sonic qualities and musicianship is lush, rich, consistent and deeply satisfying for any reggae lover, music engineer or audiophile." As we mentioned in the review of Marcus Gad's EP Enter a Space, a defining characteristic of his music is a slowed down, deliberate rhythm which complements his style of liturgical or melancholic chanting.
So, for those of you who know us already, you might know that we like to take the tempo as low as we can. So we like it really slow.
This sort of slowed down rhythm can best be demonstrated by the title track and first song of the 2017 album, Chanting. Chanting was strictly roots reggae music, while the EP Enter a Space, that exceptional collaboration with Tamal, was more progressive in sound, keeping the foundation of roots reggae steady but including elements of hip-hop and blues. Rhythm of Serenity, like Chanting before it, is fundamentally roots reggae music all the way through. We asked Marcus Gad about the song he sought to create in Rhythm of Serenity. The intention for this album was quite different from the works I've done before, because I normally compose everything, from bass line to the guitars to the rhythm. I like to bring a full song with the melody and everything already written. Most of the time I don't really write to rhythms. My band Tribe composes lots of rhythms and write a lot of music, so I try to write as much as I can to their rhythms. But mostly the way I create, I write a full song. So for me to do this whole album with rhythms that were already fully composed and arranged, that was really a different undertaking. I really enjoyed actually doing it because it did open new ways of creating, because it's a different way of creating. It's a different inspiration. When I describe this project to people, I tell them it's really a collaboration, it's really a sharing, with each artist and musician bringing his mastership, putting all the best together. And that's what happened on this album. I'm really pleased with the final result. While some differences exist, which we'll get to in a while, there is significant sonic continuity between Rhythm of Serenity and Marcus's previous albums. Cyanide Kings was able to replicate the Marcus Gad song quite well, and we asked Marcus Gad about this. Yes, it's interesting what you are saying that Cyanide Kings were able to reproduce the Marcus Gad sound. I think it was all done by great musicianship and also through meditation. The first time we actually spoke together with Moon and Jadi, I think at the time the brothers were in New York recording in some studio. They called me up on Skype and we spoke for 15 minutes, For me, it was a really intense time to speak with the brothers for the first time. I felt like a youth meeting his big brothers. We spoke for 15 minutes, and at the end of our call, Moon told me we were in the studio right now, and what we're going to do is that we're going to hold the meds upon what we just reasoned about together, and then we'll write some rhythms and record them straight away for you and send them to you tonight. So this is what they did, and I think that's part responsible for the similarity in the two songs. And also, I really do believe that one other reason for that is that my song has always been from the beginning very influenced by VI, by Midnight, by Zion I Kings. Maybe it was my song that was already very influenced and sounding like theirs. So then my voice coming in on some Zion I Kings rhythm was then really a perfect mix of all these influences coming together. On his Facebook page, Moon said, "This album may hold the widest chronological expanse of Zion I King's production ever, from our first session to most recent, and some gems from in between." Now, given the timeline of these rhythms and that they were not composed by Marcus Gad himself, one would expect some differences in the song between Rhythm of Serenity and the previous albums from Marcus Gad. There is a big difference for me in the song between Chanting and Rhythm of Serenity. Chanting was really our first album. Some of the songs that you hear on Chanting I wrote maybe 10 years ago when I was still in New Caledonia, just fresh out of high school. A lot of the songs on this album really had time to mature. I had time to reflect on them for years. It was really a different process than writing songs and putting them down straight away. Also, Chanting was done in a really special form because it was live recorded in Davos studio, which just closed recently. It was one of the best studios that ever was in Paris, really old studio. We really had something about the sound in the way we wanted to do Chanting. It was lots of research, lots of time in the studio. I was with Tamal and I was really pointy about how the song was gonna be, what needed to be changed. I think the song is very different on these two albums, but in a way, it's got the same vibration, it's got the same frequency, because the intentions behind the music are always the same. This is always about Rastafari, so you can hear that directive line between the different albums, even if they don't quite sound the same. We moved from questions about production and the sound of the album to a discussion of the message the brothers conveying to us. I asked Marcus to tell us more about the overall take-home message of the album. You will see how grounded and conscious Marcus is, which explains why his music is so profound. Regarding the message, I believe the message is about bringing in more consciousness into our lives. Every time I write a song, for me it's about waking myself and people up to the deeper cause and parts of my being which have been anesthetized by this modern way of life and by constant exposure to toxic products, to pesticides. For me, reggae music is a direct link to the Almighty. It's a direct link to my earthly connection, to my sovereignty as a human being upon this planet, which needs to be expressed through the medium of this music. It is always the same goal, which is to bring consciousness. And one thing I've found with I&I music, and this music that we're writing is, a lot of people come to us and they say this is soothing for the soul. They say it's calming. They say it appeases the tensions and the worries and makes them feel less stressful. Makes them feel more trust, less fear. So to me, this is really the thing I want to bring to the people. Right now we're in this time where there is so much information going on. It is really hard to focus on one energy and to give all yourself to that. You're always called by outside influences which are trying to come into your realm. And I believe that this music is a way to center oneself, to give a focus to the meditation, to give a focus to the intention. Music has served this purpose for a long time, and it will serve this purpose forever. It's Rhythm of Serenity, this is the title that came out. And it was a really interesting title because the album came out Friday the 13th of March. In Europe, it was a day where there was no serenity. It was a day where the presidents announced that they were closing the borders, that they were closing the countries, and that we are going into global lockdown. I believe that this message came in at the perfect time, because there was no serenity at this time. And if this music can bring a little to the people, then my mission will be fulfilled. Before I could lay my hands on the full album, the title track Rhythm of Serenity and its live dub mix by TPI of Irie were available on Google Play. I was on a flight heading home to San Francisco from New Orleans just as the coronavirus epidemic was starting to spread in the US. You could feel the tension on the plane. I kept playing these two tracks on a loop. I studied the lyrics of the vocal track and the instrumentation on the dub mix. This song is magical, but I want to let Marcus Gad explain why it is magical to you. Rhythm of Serenity. It's a song that came out quite naturally. It was very interesting when we recorded it in the studio because it was Moon and me. It was the end of the day. We just had a long session and Moon just found this old file with the rhythms that we hadn't listened to. So he played them, and when he played this one rhythm, I listened to 10 seconds of it and I told him, "This one, bro, I want to write to this one. Let's do something with this one." So he told me, okay, go to the next room, take a pen and paper, and let's see if we could put something before the end of the day. I went to the next room and I wrote. It's hard to explain with words. It's one of these times that happen in the studios every once in a while, where inspiration just flows straight. You don't have to think about it, and the song is written in half an hour to 40 minutes, and you go to the microphone and you lay it down and everyone agrees. This is pretty much how it happened. I went to the mic, I sang, and we did this one shot. It was only one take. Then I went to the next room to listen to the track with Moon. We just sat down and held a prayer. We didn't even have to speak about it. We felt like this was the track for the album for some reason, because it all flowed like a river. The rhythm, the melody, everything was smooth, and it made us feel great. We just looked at each other and figured, hey, this might be our title. The album Rhythm of Serenity is loaded with powerful tracks, many of which appeal to me on a personal level. I would have a difficult time picking one favorite song out of this album. The title track Rhythm of Serenity is a favorite. Musically, the song is a perfect demonstration of the Zion King sound, from the syncopated drum beats, shadow guitar picking, heavy walking roots bass lines with lots of breathing space to fill in with the guitar octaves. The lyrics are really powerful also. It says, "Reveal to the heart what the eyes can't see." That can only happen if we can be still and free of the bondages we are in. He says Rastafari set the people free. Rebel Form of Soul is also a favorite. While Marcus calls for calm within our souls, he's not saying we should acquiesce to the Babylonian lifestyle of poor diet, commercialism, etc. The chant towards the middle of the song is really powerful and goes hard.
Is rising up, Rastaman already step ahead of planting up, cultivate a native and sustainable crop, as well as some revolutionary conscious thoughts, consuming a local and responsible farm. Know what you invest in and where it come from, know what you ingesting and if it a confirm, know that you are rebel and you not settle under a level, no we be humble, never accept mediocre even if double, it a principle, so we not stumble, so we not step up in a end up in a trouble, we no wanna hustle, we no wanna wrestle, wanna follow righteously with the principles, unto our people, strength in our struggle, love unto our elders, to the youth in a cradle, yeah.
Become a Nation is another favorite, as it chants about our strength as a united people with much symbolism from nature itself. Another favorite is Pouvoir. It is also my kids' favorite, although they do not understand a word of the song. The song, done entirely in French, is about preserving, conserving and protecting one's history and traditions, and we'll come back to the song in a moment. The message of Overcome, which is overcoming evil with love, goes a long way in creating an atmosphere of serenity, and is another favorite. It says, with a little bit of talk and a whole lot of action, with a little bit of rain and a whole lot of sunshine. Now I cannot leave I and I Royal, a Naya Bingi bass track, out of a list of my favorites, which features Jaden Blackamore, the lone featured voice on this album. He says, did you know the rhythm and cardiac rate is attuned to the beat of the planet? The tune calls attention to our innate royalty and synchronicity with the wider creation. Other favorites are Kenan Cotton, which chants about those who made those commodities of higher value than human life. He says Babylon will have to pay. The driving rhythm behind the song is also a great demonstration of the Zion King sound. As a farmer's son, I also love honoring the soil. A central theme in all of Marcus's music is this continuity between the human plane, the plants, and the soil, and respect and care for nature. Live Life also speaks to me. Marcus says, live life with a whole lot of faith and love in your heart. This then ties in seamlessly with Lego Your Ego, another favorite. He says, Lego your ego, Lego your fears, Lego illusions, for Jah is real. Let all these things go and live life. So I couldn't pick a favorite, but I asked Marcus Gad to pick his favorite. My favorite song from this record, that's always a hard one to pick. For this record, pretty easily I pick Rebel from Our Soul. I really love this track. It makes me feel like we're going on a march, all of I, to claim our sovereignty back. It's a morning song for me. I like to listen to it in the sun rising. It gives me this powerful energy to go through the day. Warrior mode. Rastafari. Let's go back to the song Pouvoir. We wanted to know more about his use of French on this song and any plans for a French-based album. Marcus Gad gave a really interesting response here. Singing in French has been quite a treat for me because of course it's my mother tongue. But you know, French is a very literary language, and it's not as musical as English or Spanish or other languages would be. It's very lyrical. I really love French hip-hop because French is this very deep language that has lots of subtleties. You could express ideas in depth, and it's really poetical, but it's less musical. I haven't really worked out on the French for now, but as I do come from New Caledonia and I want to sing to my people, because a lot of the people in New Caledonia don't speak English. For me, it's important to sing in French, but if I sing in French, it's mostly to sing to my people. I choose English because I view this message that we're delivering to be destined to the whole world. If Spanish was a language that would be the most spoken, I would sing in Spanish. But it happens to be English, so we have to sing in English in order to be understood by the most people possible. I've been working on some more songs in French, but mostly in the hip-hop mood, less reggae, and more in the crossover style that I started with Tamal on the Enter a Space EP. For me, speaking in French is really about singing to my people, singing to the people of New Caledonia. And if I sing in French, it's really gonna be about our history and about what I want to sing out to my people. I will not use French to do a global subject matter album. I would use French to speak about our situation in Kanaki, in New Caledonia, in the South Pacific. Our final question to Marcus centered around the influence that Midnight, the legendary VI Roots reggae band, has had on his music. We continue to mourn the passing of our beloved brother Von Benjamin, the voice of Midnight and Haki Baco. Marcus Gad's response to this question is extensive, profound and touching, and I need you to listen to every word. He touches on what reggae music means to him, the difference between singing and chanting, his consciousness and spirituality, and earlier disillusionment with popularized and commercialized reggae. I experienced a similar disillusionment with reggae music until I discovered the roots reggae music of Midnight and VI Roots reggae music in 2005. Midnight has been a huge influence. As I was telling the eye a bit before, to me, reggae music is really a link to the Almighty. This is why my first album was called Chanting. It's not singing, it's chanting. Chanting is singing with a higher purpose, singing to a higher force. When we sing reggae, first of all, we sing to the Almighty. It's like a prayer. It's the word song power. To me, when I go on stage, it's never just to show. I always view it as some kind of ceremony where I'm going to deliver this really holy vibration to the people. If I am not aligned in my heart, in my core, in myself, then how can I possibly transmit this positivity, this energy? One has to be very centered and self-conscious in order to pass this. It's a lot of concentration, meditation in order to reach that phase. Von Benjamin and Midnight for me was a huge inspiration because as a youth, I felt I was lost in this world. Rastafari was a philosophy and a way of life from earlier, but listening to reggae music, I was disappointed a lot of the time because I felt like the essence of Rastafari was commercialized, was used as a cliche, using always the red, gold and green, the ganja and the dreadlocks, but I didn't see such depth behind that. I saw lots of ego. When I first heard of Von, to me, I was like, finally, oh wow, they're still here. We still have these elders that are 1,000% implicated in what they are saying. And that was really a living testimony to the message. I hadn't seen that in a long time in reggae music. So to me, yeah, it really changed my perception of things. We were in this commercial era where you have to do videos and where you have to promote and where you have to dress well. Then Midnight comes and they release 7 albums in a year. And there is no promo, there is no video. And they don't care about this whole box that you have to fit in. They come and boom, it's like Rastafari. This is who we are and this is what we do. Such integrity, of course, it marked me. When you see somebody with such level of integrity and respect to the movement, it's like he's setting a pace that you need to walk. For me, that was really the style of Midnight. Now that I'm evolving in my own style, I'm giving thanks for the influences that I had in the beginning, which Midnight were part of. I realized how important the foundation it was and how important it is that we have these elders that keep the fire burning, that keep the message alive, so that our generation can pick up this foundation and build on top of it so we don't fall down eventually. Finally, we follow 5 criteria to arrive at Irie Roots Reggae score. The first is originality, authenticity. There's really no question about the originality and authenticity of the music and the man behind the music. It's 10 over 10. For lyricism, the lyrics are poetic, spiritual, profound, and thought-provoking, also 10 out of 10. For production and instrumentation, with the backing of Zion Kings, we can give nothing short of 10 out of 10 here. For coherence of the album, Marcus Gad puts albums together, with individual songs centered and reinforcing a central message. This album is centered around calm reggae and an uplifting spiritual message, which is Rhythm of Serenity. Speaking of what stood out to him as he listened to the album Chanting, Andrew Moonbane said Chanting has a seamless feel from start to finish. It was a true concept album. We can say the same about Rhythm of Serenity, so we gave a 10 out of 10 here. For accessibility advanced reggae music, Marcus Gad himself is evidence of reggae on the move, a true roots artist from the Pacific Islands, thousands of miles away from Jamaica, where reggae originated. His music, which stays true to roots reggae music and builds on the influences of the greats like Midnight, does nothing but advanced reggae music. We also gave 10 out of 10 here. Overall, the Irie Roots Reggae score, like we gave for Chanting, is 10 out of 10. It is a perfect sound with a perfect message, one which stays true to advancing the cause of jam music. I am especially thankful for Marcus Gad for taking the time to respond to so many of our questions. That was a blessing to me personally. Give thanks, my brother. Continued success to you on your journey as you avail yourself to the Almighty and to transmitting His message through your music. Until next time, as we always say, live life Irie and listen to Roots. Blessings.
Jah children not a fail like a remedy. Rastafari set the people free. Reveal to the heart what the eyes can see. Rhythm of serenity. Jah children not a fail like a remedy. Rastafari set the people